Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Millionaire Maker. By the end of this episode, you're going to have discovered deep insights into pensions, into wills and estate planning. Now that might all sound a bit dry and boring, but for goodness sake, which of us doesn't want to be able to retire? We all do. Because if you don't learn to make money while you sleep, you're going to work until you die. That's just truth, isn't it? So anyway, no further ado, the stage is set, let's get to work. Nick, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
Perfect. Do you enjoy that exercise?
Yes, I did.
Excellent. So let's start with question number one, pension. What's your pension? If you change nothing, what's your current pension going to give you?
It's going to give me 16 grand a year.
16 grand a year. Well, it's not a lot,
No,
but compared to most people, it is a lot.
it is, yeah.
All right. So £16,000 a year. Can you live on that?
No.
No. Yeah, I normally put it in the context that I could probably avoid dying, but it's not really the same as living, is it?
No, exactly.
Some sort of basic food and accommodation, but that's not a lot of money.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know exactly what you would get.
Uh-huh.
You know you don't want it.
Yeah.
So question number three is, well, what are you going to do about it?
Well, what have I done about it?
Oh, what have you done?
I've already done things. So
All right.
I've got two pensions.
Mhm.
One was with the civil service, and I was advised, perhaps not particularly brilliantly, many years before I knew Touchstone,
Yeah.
that it was a civil service pension, it was index linked, and just keep it.
It's the best.
It's the best out there.
Gold plated.
Exactly. So that brings me in the princely sum of £623 a month.
And are you drawing that now?
Yes, I'm already drawing that.
Okay.
Okay.
So for everybody out there in internet land, one of Nick's pensions is his civil service one, is already in what's called drawdown,
Yeah.
which means he can't do anything.
No, that's it.
So your advice, whenever, was leave it there, it's the best you can get, and you get what, 600 and...
£623.16.
Happy days.
Yeah.
Now that will have been turned into an annuity
Yes.
at, I don't know, 2 to 3% or something.
Yeah.
So per annum, £600 is £7,200. 1% is therefore probably £3,500. So 100% that's a lot of money.
I know.
Tens of thousands. Well, whatever.
Thanks for reminding me.
Sorry. Okay. So I guess if there's a lesson for everybody out there, it would be just because your financial advisor's telling you something, don't mean it's right, does
No,
it?
absolutely not.
So give and take some second opinion.
And this was the official government pension-wise people who advised me to do
Oh.
it. So I did try to take advice.
Yeah.
And it wasn't particularly good. So I suppose the tip is just don't take the first word. Go
Yeah.
to a few people and make sure that you get
And
differing advice.
And specifically, what I always look for is, I don't think any financial advisor can give you advice on whether to invest in commercial property or not,
Yeah.
unless they do it. Because otherwise, they're comparing. They've been to IFA school, wherever it is,
Yeah.
and they've all been taught, defined benefit schemes are the best you can get,
Exactly.
also known as final salary schemes. But they've got nothing to compare it to. Because how can you possibly compare it unless you've done a property investment course or
Yeah,
something? All right, so that's the civil service, not so clever.
Not so clever. But what I have learned today, because I hadn't really looked into it, was to do with my state pension, which will be payable when I'm 66 years old
Okay.
and 2 months, and it'll be £730.60.
Right. So
but-
more than your civil service pension.
Exact. But if I wait till I'm 70, that I get 130, just over 130%
More.
more
Yeah.
as a result.
tip.
So delay.
Top tip. Well,
taking
if you
it.
can.
If you can, delay.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, depends how unwell you feel, doesn't it?
Exactly.
So yeah, a lot of people know that. The age at which you affect your state, that you draw your state pension, will actually impact how much you get.
Yeah.
So top tip.
Yeah,
Nice,
absolutely.
nice
Good.
piece of work.
Okay, so I learnt a bit from these mistakes,
Yeah.
thankfully.
Good.
And I used to work for a bank, and I was looking at my bank scheme, and realised that that wasn't going to pay a lot of money either. I had about 20 years of contributions in there.
That's a lot. And you were a senior manager, weren't you?
I was, yeah. So I'd built up about £100,000 in that scheme, and when I looked at what they had invested the money in, I realised it was the most risk-adverse things they could possibly do.
Yeah.
And in retrospect, of course, that's what they're going to do. They don't want to be sued. So I decided I would do something about it.
Okay.
And I moved everything into a self-invested personal pension, a SIP.
A SIP, perfect. So just for everybody out there that's maybe not familiar with this, sorry to keep interrupting Nick, because this is gold here. So what Nick's done is he's asked his bank, his previous employer, for a transfer value.
Yeah.
They've said, okay, this is how much your scheme's worth, and he's then moved it into a SIP.
Okay.
Happy days.
Once you're in a SIP, you can invest it in a number of things. I decided to move it into stocks and shares, and I picked ones which I could see were going to have a high return. And with that, there is a higher risk, of course. So the money was going up and down, but over a 3-year period, I grew 100,000 to 300,000.
Whoa!
Which then made my pension pot, more livable upon.
How about that? So let's just look back on these numbers here.
Yeah.
And I don't want to give people the idea they should run off and do it just because you did it, but I just want them to understand what you did.
There is a risk, yeah.
Yeah, of course. So you spent 20 years paying money in every month.
Yeah.
And after 20 years, the total value of that pot was 100k.
Yeah.
You then took control of that pot, stuck it into stocks and shares, and there's a risk. There's a risk and a reward, that's how it works.
Yeah.
And in 3 years, you turned 100k into 300k. He tripled his money. So, as you know, Touchstone Millionaire, we're predominantly property people, but all investment is investment, creates wealth. So, well done, my friend.
Thank you.
So, £300,000 pension fund. Now we're talking serious money, aren't we?
Exactly. So, obviously, having got kind of more savvy in pensions and what have you, and investments, I realised that there is a history in investing, and there are crashes from time to time. And I thought, do I really want to leave my money in stocks and shares, or should I do something else with it? And then I came to Touchstone, and I found out about SASs and the fact that you could invest in commercial property within a SAS. And I thought that's the thing for me. So
splendid.
That's where the money's lying at the moment. We've set up a SAS. I've got my son involved in it. As you know, it's like a trust fund. So when I die, that money will pass to the other trustees within the SAS. And the inheritance tax rules about that are rather generous. I don't pay any tax.
As in none.
So that's a great.
Cool. And you're in the middle of a commercial property transaction just now, aren't you?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's probably too early to say with any certainty the final numbers.
Yeah.
But it looks like your SAS will get a very decent return.
Yeah.
By becoming an owner of some commercial property.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is there any indicative figure you can give, or it's just too early?
It is a bit too early, but I wouldn't be surprised if I double my money.
From 300 to 6, 3 to 600.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And there's no right or wrong here, everybody, by the way, because a very, very achievable rate of return on commercial property is 10%.
Yeah.
So if Nick had left his 100k in his bank scheme, he probably would have had a 2-3% annuity rate.
Yes.
Let's say 3 to be generous. So his £100,000 would have paid him £3,000 a year. That would have been route one. But because he didn't do that, because he took control, number one, the £100,000 became £300,000. And if at that point, all of that money were invested in very passive commercial property, that will generate an income of £30,000 a year. Because he's tripled his money and he's getting 10% instead of 3. Yeah. So you put those two things together, and it's 10 times the amount of money.
Exactly.
So
it's staggering.
It is totally staggering. And I keep having to pinch myself when I now look at what my pension is. I'm 55, I'm a pensioner, internet everybody. Well, I can be, I haven't actually started drawing my pension yet. But if I'd have left my money where it is, just to give my comparison for yours, I would have had 3 different employers would have combined to give me £8,000 a year.
Yeah, yeah.
And instead of that, they gave me a lump sum transfer value 15 years ago now of 400,000. And that 400,000 has grown to £1 million.
Mm-hmm.
So what would have been £8,000 a year pension, which I was like you, I was getting told, oh, it's the best, don't touch it, final salary, leave it alone, you're mad. Instead of which, I'm getting a return of 12.5% off £1 million. So my actual pension is 125,000 a year instead of £8,000, just because I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Scary, really scary. All right, so you're getting top marks so far, but I think your scorecard is about to become blemished because we're going to start talking about wills now. Oh. So question 1, have you got a pension? Yeah, but you really do know what you're doing with pensions. So you've turned what would have been a fairly miserable pension into a great one.
Yeah.
And you've got it in a SAS, so it's protected.
Yeah.
But when I first started talking to you about this stuff, and to be fair, we are talking more than a year ago, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
So let's ask 2 questions for you, cheating slightly a bit on my own rules.
Okay.
When I first met you, did you have an up-to-date will?
I certainly had a will, yes.
You had a will, but I specifically said an up-to-date will.
Yes, I chose to ignore that. No, I didn't have an up-to-date will.
So when I first met you, how many years out of date was your will?
Oh, about 30.
30, all right. So not particularly useful?
No, because most of my children weren't born then.
Yeah.
And wasn't married to the woman that was the beneficiary in it anymore.
Which isn't totally scary, because when you get married, when you get divorced, sorry, one of the things that happens is your will is automatically null and void or whatever. So effectively, whether you knew it or not, you didn't have a will. But you've now got one, haven't you?
I have.
And I know from talking to you over the last year, 18 months, that you do keep it up to date.
I do.
So there's a little blemish on the scorecard, but the good news is you've fixed it.
Yeah.
And so the final part of the series of 5 questions is estate planning. Have you done any estate planning?
I haven't really, other than by setting up the
SAS.
The SAS.
SIP and then the SAS.
Yeah.
So you're protecting whatever's in there.
Yeah.
But you've got quite a lot of properties, Liverpool, Sheffield, that won't be in there.
Yeah.
So is that an action point you're taking away?
Definitely.
To look at estate planning implications?
Yeah. And just to add to that, I've got property abroad, as
you know, Portugal.
As well.
Yeah.
And that's
got a farm.
That's not subject to the same rules as in the UK. So I've got to get 2 lots of advice.
Yeah.
UK and Portuguese.
Yeah. Perfect. Fantastic. Well done, my friend. Round of applause for Nick. Thank you. Cynthia, first question. If you were to change nothing, how much pension would you have now when you retire?
About 1,300 a year.
1,300 a year?
Yeah.
Jesus.
And
is that from a little pension you used to have when you worked for somebody else?
It's actually for a government pension.
Government pension?
Yeah.
Used to work for the government?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't know that. I've learned something.
Yeah, and this whole exercise has been really educational.
Okay.
Because I've heard you speak about this before, so I quickly ran off to ask for the transfer value.
Okay.
And was told, because it was a government pension, I can't transfer the value.
Yeah.
And from the exercise today, I've always wanted to get a SAS.
Yeah.
Because I've got a lot of family.
Yeah.
And I want to get pensions set up, but I can't transfer anything into the SAS because it's been a government pension. So, and I didn't realise that maximum you can put into a pension in 1 year is £40,000.
That's right.
So this has been very educational.
Okay.
So I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to build up my SAS?
Yeah. All right.
So, so that's been something that I'm now thinking about because of this exercise of knowing what should I do next, or how should I build up the SAS? Because I can have put quite a few people in it, as I've got myself, my husband, so we can put 40-40, and I've got 4 children. One is 18, one is 16, one is 14, and one's 12.
Yeah.
So the 18-year-old and the 16-year-old, I can put 40,000 each.
That's right.
I think.
Yeah. You can.
So I can build that, but then they have to work or.
Sure. Okay, but let me just stop there for a second. So you've looked at your existing pensions. Great, well done.
Yes.
it's not a lot of money.
No.
Well, okay, not good, but I'd far rather you know that now than
Yeah.
when you
Yeah.
retire. The second question then, to keep it consistent with everybody else, is can you live on the £1,000 a year or whatever? No.
No.
Third question, what are you going to do about it? You're now actively starting to look at putting a SAS in place. Yeah.
SAS, yeah.
You're absolutely right. You can put £40,000 a year in, but you don't. A SAS will very rapidly build, even if you don't put any money into it, if you've bought commercial property.
Right, okay.
So then the next question was, have you got a will?
Right. Because of this exercise as well, one tip that might help public is that I've got this bank account, and included in my bank account is a free will.
Free will, nice.
Yeah. So maybe that will help people. So I'm going to
Do you mind
use,
saying which bank it is?
Barclays Bank.
Barclays.
Yeah, Barclays
So
Bank.
if you've got a Barclays bank account, they give you a free will.
Barclays Premier account.
Okay, you've got Barclays Premier. Okay.
Yeah. And so in that includes a free will writing service.
Nice.
So I haven't got a will, so I'm going to use my free will writing
Oh,
service.
Cynthia, this is making it even worse. So you've got a bank account where you can have a will for free,
Yeah.
and you still haven't got one.
Yeah. So this exercise has been great
All
for
right,
me. Yeah.
so you're off to the bank.
Yeah.
So you'll see about your will.
Yes.
And then the final question, and this is for you as a family,
Yes.
not for you as an individual, is about the whole estate planning thing.
Yes.
Because you've got property, I know you've got property, and just that investment property takes you over the
Yeah.
threshold.
In London.
And then you've got, on top of that, your husband's business.
Yeah.
So that's got a value to it as well, hasn't it?
Yeah. So what I want to do is with the LLP, join up the children, the one 18-year-old and the one 16-year-old, and then join up the younger ones when they get to
When they're old enough.
yeah, when they get to 16, and so they, if anything happens, they become senior partners
All right.
in the thing. So that's my
Fine,
plan.
but make sure you get that planned
Yeah.
properly.
Yeah.
Because
Through
it's fine as an
accountants.
idea, but
An idea.
make sure you get it executed.
Yeah. So.
All right, can we get a round of applause for Cynthia?
Thank you.
Okay, welcome Evan. How you doing?
I'm fine, how are you, Paul?
Very good. So let's start at the beginning. Your current pension. Were you to do nothing, what would you receive now and at what age?
Well, I would not receive anything because I was working as a contractor, but my wife will get around 3,200 per year.
Oh, okay. So even as a couple, so I know you've got lots of assets on the upside, but none of those assets are within a pension scheme.
No.
And you've been a full-time property investor since 2007?
Yes.
Ish, whatever,
Yeah.
so 12 years or something. But even if you take you as a couple, what you're saying is even your wife is only going to get £3,000. So knowing the two of you, I mean, that's not even enough to pay the phone bill, is it?
No. That's true.
Short version, if you don't know it, Bavin came to the country in 98?
1998.
1998. And when he came over to meet his newly married wife, they were lived apart for 2 years or something?
9 months.
9 months. And in that 9 months, she ran up a phone bill. She told him she was using the prepaid phone cards. She wasn't. She ran up a prepaid phone bill of... Well, you made it worse the other day when you told me.
Yeah.
You told me it
His
used
total
to be...
bill was around 18,000, but
Yeah.
when I came over, it was 5,000 remaining still.
So she'd run up a phone bill in 9 months of 18 grand. And by the time he got here, there was still 5 grand to pay off because she'd been using all of her salary to pay the phone bill. All I can say is you must be one hell of a talker on the phone. But anyway, sweet talker.
Yeah.
All right. So, question number 1, with regard to your current pension, it's non-existent.
No.
Question number 2, can you live on it? Redundant, no. Question number 3, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, basically, my wife can draw down around 100,000 as a transfer value.
That's really important. So do you hear that, everybody? I'm talking to everybody out in internet land there. His wife's only going to get £3,000 a year as a pension,
Yeah.
but she can have a transfer value. So she's an IT contractor.
No, she's a bank compliance vice president.
Okay, all right. So, very good, senior job. So instead of £3,000 a year, she can have a lump sum transfer value of 100k, But that's entirely consistent with, you think, Jesus Christ, that's a lot of money. But that just means the annuity rate that they would give is 3%.
Yep.
So instead of £3,000 a year, get 100 grand. And if you go and retire at 65 or something, I mean, I wish her a very long and happy retirement, but it means she's got to live to 95 or something to even get her own money back.
That's true, yeah.
Never mind any interest. So it's just insane, is
Yep.
my view, because the chances of the average person living to 95 are slim, I would say.
Sure.
All right, so you've got, as a family then, you've got a little pension pot starter, if you want, of 100K. So what's the plan?
So the plan is basically to set up a SES between myself, my wife, and my son.
How old's your son?
16.
Sweet, yes, you
Yeah.
can do that.
So 3 of us, and we can actually put in 40,000 for the current year, 40, 40, 40 each.
Yep.
Also, we can roll over and
Whoa.
transfer.
120K in one go.
Yeah, but then we can transfer another 40 as well from previous year, isn't it?
You can.
So if we do that, then
Well,
it's around
actually,
200.
strictly speaking, you can't,
Okay.
your son can't, but your wife can.
Okay.
If you want to be able to claim previous year's pension allowances,
Sure.
you have to have had a pension.
Okay.
So she did,
Yeah.
so she could.
Okay. So basically, 160,000 of that and 100,000 of transfer value we can be able to put into the SES.
Boom, 260.
260. That 260 can purchase one commercial property,
True.
which can get 26,000 per year, 10% yield.
20, 25 grand.
Yeah. In that, probably one of the room I can use it as my office and pay SES another 10
So
or 12,000 rent.
Bavin can be an owner-occupier, so he becomes his own tenant,
Yeah.
writes himself a lease.
Yeah.
So he's reducing the profit of his company or LLP, and he's paying that into his pension fund,
That's true.
and that is in addition to the £40,000,
Yeah.
because that's rent.
Yeah.
That's not a pension contribution. So that's another way of growing the pension faster.
Yeah.
And you've probably seen me do that, have you?
That's true. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm taking a cue from that.
Yeah, it's fine. So I've been doing that for about 12 years.
Yeah. So in the similar example, the 26,000 per year rent plus 10,000 rent, so it's about 36,000.
You can
We
do
can
that.
transfer into SES, which is going to be income for SES. So if I'm 44, if I'm going to get 5 years of that, so that 36 times 5 is around 200,000. That income can be invested again
Yeah.
into property
Get another one.
and get another one. Then the combined income can be
50K.
55K, and then that is going to be another 5 year age 49, age 54. I can have like another property,
Yes.
age 59 another property, and 64 another property.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Roughly.
roughly. So combined, it is going to be around. We can have at the end 230,000 per year.
Nice. By starting now.
Yeah, because at last the income is going to be around 79K because we are going to invest 790,000.
So you were right, but you did it very quick. So let's
Yeah.
just slow down again. What Bavin's saying is that if he combines his wife's transfer value of 100
Yeah,
plus pension contributions he's allowed to make in year one for 3 of them, him, his wife,
And
and his son. And obviously you have to have the cash to be able to do this, but
Yep.
he has. So you can put roughly £250,000
yeah,
roughly in the first year, which is, and you've seen enough of my shops, you know you could go and buy
Yeah.
a shop like one of mine
that's true. Yeah,
to give you £25,000 a year. You could, and absolutely perfect, because you don't just want a shop, you want a shop and uppers.
uppers. Yeah,
And you would then use the uppers as your office,
yes,
which is exactly what I did with my very first one. So suddenly you got the 25 grand from the shop going back in, and you're saying 10 grand from
Yeah.
the uppers, which is a combined income of 35 grand.
35 grand.
And all he's done is he said, well, it's going to take me 6-7 years to save up enough money from that money coming in to go and buy another one. So 7 years time, instead of having one shop and uppers, you've got
two shop, and then the income will be double. Then we can increase the things.
And because you've got double the income, 60-odd thousand pounds, it's now not going to take you 7 years to save up for another
Yeah.
shop and uppers. It's going to take you 4.
Yeah,
So in 11 years, you can go from 250 to 500 to knocking on £1 million.
yeah.
And the calculation he's done is by the time you were how old?
64. I will have 237,000 per year.
Okay, So by the time he's 64, he'll have 237,000 per year. Nearly right. Not you, but your family.
Family, yes. That's
will
true.
have. So brilliant. That's a great plan.
Yep.
And next question: have you got a will?
Yes, I have got. I just made it a few days back.
A few days back.
Yeah.
Bloody hell! Did you know we were going to do this exercise? Okay. And you've got a very sizable London property portfolio in residential property.
That's true. Yeah.
Is it owned in your personal name?
Yes, few of them, and some of them after Section 24, I started buying it into the company.
Okay.
So around five properties in the company, other properties are in my personal name.
Fine. So if anything, God forbid, happened tomorrow, you'd have quite a large inheritance tax bill, wouldn't you?
That's true.
So have you taken estate planning advice?
Well, I just spoke to Joy.
Yeah.
In exercise.
What, just now?
Yeah.
She'll love me, won't she?
So Joy
set this exercise. Everyone's phoning her up. Oh.
Joy said, "Okay, how long you got to decide about that?" And I said, "Half an hour."
Yeah.
I said, "Just give me a high level of."
She give you a few pointers.
Few points, yeah. So basically, she said that you can be able to set up the LLP and then transfer, as we have discussed.
All right.
So between me and my wife, we have got the properties which can be value can be transferred, and then children can become like a smaller shareholders, 10% at the moment probably, and then after we can be able to increase percentage.
You're right. It's not a shareholder. It's a partner.
Partner, yeah.
And an LLP is governed by something called a partnership agreement.
Yep.
And that can be written in such a way that, exactly as you're saying, while you're alive, they get X amount, and when you pass away, they get more.
Sure.
So, yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, that'll work. And final point, because we kind of discussed this with one or two other people, even where they're not jointly owned with your wife, you can make them jointly owned with your wife, because whichever way around it is, you can always transfer equity to her, or she can transfer it to you.
Yeah.
Between man and wife, there's never any tax, so do what you want.
Definitely.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well done. Welcome, Lee. How you doing?
I'm good. Yeah,
Excellent.
thank you, Paul.
Do you enjoy the exercise?
Yeah, very useful as always.
Perfect.
Yeah.
First up then, let's go through the questions. So question number one is, if you don't do nothing, if you don't do anything, sorry, that's not good English, if you don't do anything, when you retire, two questions in the first question, two parts of the first question, how much would you get and what age would you be?
I'd be 67.
All right, state pension.
Possibly, yeah. I think it changed from 65 to 67.
It's going up to 68, I think.
That was a local government, yeah. And I'd get about 12, 13 grand a year.
When you retire in your 60s, you get 12,000, £13,000 a year. Good. Mm-hmm. Would that give you the lifestyle you want?
Not really, no.
No. £1,000 a month.
No.
Okay. So question number three, what are you going to do about it?
Well, I've actually done something about it.
What have you done about it?
When I started my last role back in February 2016, that was for a company that bought into a local government pension scheme.
Yeah.
So I took the opportunity then to move all the little pots of pensions that were private pensions, 30 grand here, 20 grand there, put them all into the sort of local government scheme, which gave me quite a healthy transfer value, which I've since moved into a SAS.
Wow, so that's all done?
That's all done, yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to ask you the figure, unless you want to tell me, but I'm going to imagine that if it's 13,000, which is 3%, then 1% is going to be roughly 4,000. So for many people, if they had 13,000, you could easily see a transfer value of 400,000 or 500,000. That would be.
No, it's not quite that much. No.
Well, I'm not asking, but
Yeah.
I'm going to take it, it's got to be in the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, to be honest, whether it's 300k or 500k, doesn't really matter, it's hundreds of thousands. Okay, so what are you going to do with your SAS? Or what are you doing with your SAS?
Yeah, I'm waiting to invest it in commercial property. I've had a recent deal that wasn't sort of accepted, an offer that wasn't accepted, but we move on to the next one and we keep on looking. But the idea is to invest in shops and uppers, to potentially keep the shop and the ground floor in the SAS, maybe to then sort of title split and then to sell the uppers and to benefit from the sale.
Cool. So what's your investment area where you're looking to? Do you mind, or where you're looking?
I don't really mind, to be honest. I mean, I'm based in Shropshire, so it's fairly central. So I've said about an hour and a half, sort of 2-hour radius from there, which covers a large part of the UK, really. So yeah, it's quite handy.
Yeah, that's probably about 20 million people.
So yeah.
Okay, with your background in particular, I'd probably look in for shops with vacant uppers, because you can add a lot more value that way, and I know you've got the skill set to do it. So I don't normally encourage people to be Bob the Builder unless they are. So.
No, this deal it's got 3 floors above it, and it's got planning for 3 one-bed apartments, which was a big attraction of the deal to bring the risk down. But the offer wasn't quite high enough. So, you know, do I go back or do I just sit tight? I think I'll just sit tight for a bit. Yeah.
Longest I've ever had to wait to get a deal so far is about 3 years. Right. So I'm not recommending you wait 3 years, but I'm just saying it was one hell of a deal when I got it 3 years later. Yeah. Okay, to finish this off then, have you got a will?
I haven't. I've approached various will writing companies, you know, sort of as always, they vary in terms of sort of standards and what they give you for the price. But I've got the forms that they all send out. I've done a draft of the forms and, you know, ready to sort of press the button now and get one in place. Sure. I think. Yeah.
Most solicitors will offer to write you a will. My choice, rightly or wrongly, is I've never used a solicitor to write me a will because they always wanted thousands of pounds off me. Yeah. And my preference was to go for an actual bespoke will writer who charges you hundreds of pounds, not thousands of pounds. Yeah. And I don't like filling forms in. So I paid a little bit extra, but that meant that the will writer came to my house, sat in front of me and asked me questions, which I found a more painless process. Yeah. Went away and sent me a draft. So the whole process from me lifting the phone saying, when can you see me? They maybe took 2 or 3 days to come and see me. The whole thing was done in less than a week. And I didn't have to fill any forms in, I just had to sign it when it was finished. And the other thing, I don't know, and this isn't strictly anything to do with what we're talking about, but part of their deal was that they would keep a copy of the will for the next 100 years or something. All right, final one. Estate planning, inheritance tax. Yeah,
apart from the SAS and apart from the sort of limited companies, I've not got a LLP set up yet, so that's on the list.
All right.
And then maybe in the next few months try and get on Joy's table and sort of understand a bit more about that. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. Cheers, thank you.
Okay, another fantastic piece of work from the Millionaire Makers. Just want to remind you, they never know the task I'm going to give them before they get here, so they can't prepare for it. And I'll set them the task and they'll get an hour or something, and yeah, they can make the odd phone call, but it's like 0 preparation time. So I think the quality of the work that they do is fantastic. And I want to ask you this question. If you were given those same tasks, how would you do? And I want you to be thinking about that, you know, and what practical things are you learning as we go through this process that will benefit to you? So take the information that you've been given over the last couple of weeks and judge the Millionaire Makers against how much value have they added to your life by going through what they've gone through in front of the camera for you, because now's payback time. They need your vote. We're getting so close to the end of this competition now. We've been going since last November, really tight group, who stays and who goes, over to you. So use your vote wisely. As always, you've been wonderful, I've been Paul, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Watch out for next week's edition. If you've liked it, please literally like it, subscribe to the channel, get your friends to do the same. You've been wonderful, I've been Paul, see you next time, bye-bye.